So, an old-growth forest can be a bit hard to define. First, of course, we need old, large trees, and a variety of tree species, including western hemlock, grand fir, Douglas fir, red cedar, and bigleaf maple. We need vertical and horizontal canopy gaps, snags, dead tops, fallen trees, and nurse logs. The understory is also important. Ferns, forbs, shrubs, and of course, lots and lots of moss. And below-ground ecosystems, micro and macroorganisms, including a network of mycorrhizae. In reality, the definition depends on who it is that's trying to define it. For example, it might be defined functionally, structurally, aesthetically, spiritually, or even commercially. Yes, for humans, an old-growth forest can be a lot of things. But for many species of birds, it's simply home. This is an old-growth forest. Sure is pretty. But what is it about this place that makes it the preferred habitat for so many species of birds? The short answer is that it is incredibly diverse, both structurally and functionally. Now, it's an enormous oversimplification, but as far as birds go, there are three major habitat zones within the forest. The lower understory, the middle canopy, and the upper crown. Each zone provides specific resources for specific birds. Now, birds have curious minds, and if you sit quietly long enough, sure enough, they will come and find you. But if you're hiking through an old-growth forest, chances are you'll hear more birds than you'll see. That's okay. I'll show you who lives where and why, and how to identify them based on sound. Let's start in the lower understory and work our way up. The lowest zone spans from the forest floor to the top of the understory. It is home to the Pacific slope flycatcher, the winter wren, the varied thrush, and the Swainson's thrush. Of course, there are many more birds here than this, and certainly birds are not neatly contained within zones, but these species tend to be the most common, and the most vocal of the old-growth specializers. The thing that these birds have in common is that they are all low understory herbivore insectivores. The Pacific slope flycatcher, he hunts from perches like these for mosquitoes and gnats, he's got great hair, and he says... Next, the winter wren. This active little guy hangs out in the lower zone almost exclusively, where he flits around looking for insects and spiders. His song is distinct in that it is incredibly fast and complex. The varied thrush. He seeks through leaf litter for arthropods, nuts, and berries. The female makes her nest of fir, alder, and hemlock twigs. They have a two-toned call. Swainson's thrush is very reclusive. He hides in dense understory and has an upward spiraling song. Now to the middle canopy. Here, old-growth forest provides unique habitats for nesting and feeding. Dead branches, intra-canopy gaps, deeply furrowed tree bark, and high density of conifer foliage make this zone the preferred habitat for foliage and bark insectivores. These include the red-breasted nuthatch, the brown creeper, chestnut-backed chickadee, and the red-breasted sapsucker. The brown creeper and the red-breasted nuthatch both search tree bark for arthropods. They can coexist in this niche because the creeper works up and the nuthatch works down. Creeper goes up and says... Nuthatch goes down and says... Everybody loves a chickadee. The chestnut-backed chickadee is a timber foliage insectivore, and an energetic, acrobatic one at that. It nests in cavities created by woodpeckers. The chickadee's name is an onomatopoeia for its call. The red-breasted sapsucker pecks rows of shallow holes in trees all over the forest, and then goes back and eats the sap and insects that are stuck in it. Sounds a bit like an angry cat. And finally we move to the upper canopy. Like the other zones, the upper canopy of an old-growth forest is unique. Dead tops, double tops, snags, and conifer cones all provide resources for red crossbills, fox's swift, hairy woodpecker, and the pileated woodpecker. The red crossbill feeds almost exclusively on conifer seeds. It uses its unique bill to pry open the cones. They breed as soon as they can find a good supply of conifer seeds, and their call is a series of short, warbled clicks and whistles. Fox's swift is an upper canopy air insectivore. These birds hunt in the air above the forest. Their call is a very high, rapid twitter. They require large, dead trees in the upper canopy where they nest and roost in very large numbers. The hairy woodpecker and pileated woodpeckers are upper canopy bark insectivores. They are cavity nesters and require large snags in dead trees. They spend much of their time in the upper canopy digging into mature tree bark for wood-boring beetles and bark beetles. Their calls are distinct. Hairy woodpecker says, and pileated woodpecker says. There are many different species of birds that call old-growth forests their home. It is the unique structural and functional diversity of the forest that allows so many species to exist in one area at the same time. Thanks for watching and happy birding!